We start with a cheesy voiceover about how the orphan narrator was adopted by the richest man in the city. And before you can say, is there anything Elon Musk don't want to friggin' own these days? He clarifies that it was actually some playboy fella called Bruce Wayne, who apparently kept all sorts of secrets from him, like his Netflix password and also how he liked to dress up as a giant fuck-off bat in the evenings and shit. Anyway, turns out said narrator is called Turner Hayes, who likes to smack swords with other boys and throw lavish parties on a whim. So we then cut to Wayne Manor, where said lavish party is raging, and so are some hormones, as his best friend Stephanie is caught getting off with his school nemesis called Brody. Elsewhere, a bunch of typical CW teens infiltrate Wayne Tower, and reveal that they were paid 100k to steal something from Bruce Wayne's safe, but turns out there was only a little gun inside what was used to top his parents back in the day. But bizarrely, the barrel is still warm, so naturally, one of the dopey kids puts her face directly to the nozzle of a recently fired gun. Then the redhead notices a broken window with some writing on it, and apparently some nutter has killed her pet bat. Or some shit. But they quickly realise they've been set up once they see a splattered Bruce Wayne on the pavement 200 feet below, while some fella called Harvey Dent rolls the body over to see his old mate Bruce has totally croaked in his fetish gear. Lol, oops. Meanwhile, the typical CW teens get their heck out of Dodge, and then the show does a budget Heath Ledger rip-off by having the crazy one hang out the side of a stolen police car, because lazy writing, bro. Anyway, back at the party, said Dent fella tells that Turner bloke that his dad is totally Batman, or rather was Batman, because gravity's now squashed him flatter than Prince Elrond's face. And he just can't believe that his secretive dad wouldn't tell his phony fakey son that he liked to dress up in spandex every night and get his rocks off by dropping on top of strange men in alleyways and shit. And after stumbling onto the location of the Batcave by literally the worst place hidden switch mechanism that seemingly anyone could have accidentally leaned on in Bruce's office, they come face to face with Brucey Boy's secret underground dungeon. So, after the opening title card, Turner gives a super cliched eulogy for the Batfella's funeral, whilst across town, the typical CW teens count their blood money and wonder who the frig would set them up, before the local filth bust down their door and totally take them downtown, whilst a stunning and brave female lady person of colour lays a rose on Bruce's casket. Turner then says he doesn't care if Harvey Dent Face has caught the twats, because he'd rather know who put him up to it and shit, and he's totally going to solve the murder of his daddy Woo's brain, Bruce Wayne. Then Turner is told to go to school already by some random Asian lady with a British accent. And before you can say, oh god, please don't tell me they've race and gender swapped Alfred Pennyworth for this show. Turns out her name is Cressida and is totally a new character, bro. Despite essentially performing the exact same role in the story and around Wayne Manor as Alfred. Elsewhere, the cops are interrogating the typical CW teens, starting with the obnoxious redhead, who's called Duella apparently and is hilariously supposed to be the Joker's daughter because reasons. But she says she didn't kill no stinking rich bloke what love flying rodents, so shut up about it already. Turner's arch school nemesis then taunts him about having a raging gimp for a daddy. So naturally, he pushes him against a small wall and tells him not to say any more of them bad things ever again. Later, said Turner fella and his best blonde girly friend approach the main console in a Batcave, and despite her stating outright that she's never hacked anything this secure before, proceeds to easily hack into the Gotham National fucking Bank because again, lazy writing, bro. Hang on, a handsome male high schooler protagonist with adoptive and dead parents, alongside a small female blonde best friend who can suddenly and conveniently hack anything and anywhere whenever the plot calls for it, and airing on the CW? God, this is bloody Smallville all over again, only with less baldy villains. Or maybe not. Anyway! Then Dent gets on with interviewing the other two typical CW teens, but turns out nobody cares. And back at the Batcave, the sudden blonde super hacker has managed to get into, quote, all the banks at the same time. And it's soon revealed that Turner has been set up worse than a Clinton whistleblower. And some cheeky monkey has only gone and made it look like he's the one what paid those typical CW teens to kill his dad. And were also the ones that left a lot of gay porn in his internet history. Well, I presume. So he gets carted off in cuffs, and the twice orphaned adopted son of a billionaire hilariously tries to convince Harvey Dent that he had no reason to kill his uber-rich dad, who only 3 days earlier had tried to change his beneficiary to seemingly cut him out of his will and shit. But strangely, Harvey is somehow not convinced he's guilty. Though if I was a detective looking into a case where a young chap has gone through more sets of parents than a foster kid with ADHD, then I certainly wouldn't be giving this fella the benefit of the doubt, son. Anyway, the Bat Brat soon gets flung into a cell with the other typical CW teens, where the Joker's kid talks about a cringy backstory, what again no fucker cares about, before a full-on brawl breaks out, and he later uses his one phone call to call up his bat floozy, cause he just needs someone to talk to now the whole city is against him, and about how he now feels more targeted than a conservative on a college campus. And after she just gives him some empty platitudes, he tells her to shut up and get on with finding out who framed him already. Later, he's dumped into the back of a police truck like yesterday's turd. And luckily, his new teeny bopper friends now believe he didn't set them up after being set up himself. So they eventually escape before the Joker's cringy daughter threatens to kill the baldy copper. But that Bat Brat Turner killjoy totally jumps in front of the gun and unironically says, "We can't prove we're not killers by killing someone." And turns out that baldy copper is totally in on whatever it is that's going on, and about to channel the energy of an MK Ultra stooge by shooting up a bunch of kids. But suddenly, a batarang flies into his hand somehow, and then lots of cars explode also somehow. As the gang are soon saved by a stunning and brave female lady person of colour, who turns out to be a race and gender swap new version of Robin, only with sillier glasses. And she later tells him how she found out that Bruce was Batman, when she scraped him off the side of the pavement after some mutant gang threw him off a roof one time. Man, what's with this highly trained superhero fella constantly falling out of buildings and getting flattened on sidewalks? You know, this sounds like the most cucked version of Batman I've ever friggin' seen. And I've seen Clooney on ice skates. Anyway, turns out Bruce then kept her as a little pet by telling her to keep an ear to the streets and then rewarding her with little gifts. Probably like those silly green goggles and shit. And before you can say, "Holy outrageous grooming, Batman," Harvey Dent issues a press statement saying he's totally going to find all them typical CW teens, cause going around breaking out of jail and making the local plot look like proper mugs just ain't fucking on, son. Meanwhile, holding out in a clock tower, said typical CW teens promise to always stick together, before one of them pulls out a watch, what he swiped from that dirty cop, and which soon sends the Joker's daughter into a panic, because the symbol represents the Court of Owls, what she heard about during her time growing up in Arkham Asylum. Apparently, these secret owl fellas are a secret society who are secretly running the city very secretly and shit. And hilariously, they all totally believe the nutjob daughter of an insane clown terrorist about this bonkers and baseless conspiracy theory, despite her literally growing up in a local loony bin. Whilst elsewhere, female Asian Alfred, Cressida, burns a copy of Bruce Wayne's last will and testament against the backdrop of ominous music, while some sort of ninja bird gimp decapitates that dirty baldy cop, and thereby proving the so-called baseless conspiracy theory right all along. Well, you know what they say over on Twitter, the only difference between a conspiracy theory and the truth is round about 6 months. And that's it. That's the opening epi. Though my favourite part was realising the producers weren't allowed to use actual comic characters, so instead had to invent budget versions like Pound Shop Dick Grayson and Thrift Store Harley Quinn. But anyway, considering in that bell thing so you don't miss any future recaps, tell me if you like this show in the comments if you have time, and I'll see you in the next one.